Have you ever felt like the more you think, the more alone you become? Like the deeper your understanding, the less people want to listen? It's not just in your head. Society has always feared deep thinkers. Not because they're wrong, but because they see what others don't want to. History proves this time and time again. From Socrates to Galileo, from Tesla to Nietzsche, brilliant minds have been ridiculed, silenced, and ignored. Not because they lacked intelligence, but because they made people uncomfortable. Schopenhauer, one of the most brutally honest philosophers, believed that intelligence was not a gift but a curse, one that isolates those who see the world too clearly. But why? Why does society resist those who think differently? The answer lies deep within human psychology. Think about this. When you stand next to someone who is physically stronger, you don't necessarily feel weak. You admire their strength. When you meet someone who is rich, you might envy them, but you don't feel personally attacked. But when you encounter someone who is intellectually superior, something strange happens. Psychologists call this the mirror effect. A deep thinker does not just introduce new ideas. They reflect back the limitations of those around them. And people don't forgive that easily. The mere presence of someone who thinks deeply can make others feel inadequate, even if the deep thinker says nothing at all. Why does intelligence, more than any other kind of superiority, provoke such discomfort? The answer lies in how we process different forms of superiority. When someone is physically strong, we might see them as a leader or protector. When someone is wealthy, we might admire their success or aspire to achieve something similar. These qualities, strength, wealth, beauty, are external. We recognize them, but they don't necessarily challenge our core self-perception. But intelligence operates differently. Unlike physical strength or material wealth, intelligence is deeply tied to identity. We define ourselves by our thoughts, our beliefs, and our understanding of the world. When we meet someone who thinks on a deeper level, someone who questions what we take for granted, it can feel like a direct attack on our sense of self. Instead of admiring intelligence, many people subconsciously resist it. Not because the deep thinker is arrogant or dismissive, but because their very presence forces others to confront their own limitations. This is why, throughout history, deep thinkers have been pushed to the fringes of society. Their insights don't just challenge ideas, they challenge egos. And humans, by nature, will do almost anything to protect their ego from discomfort. Take a moment to reflect on your own experiences. Have you ever tried to introduce a deep or complex idea in casual conversation only to be met with blank stares or awkward silence? Have you ever noticed how people quickly shift topics when discussions move beyond surface-level chatter? This is not a coincidence. It's a defense mechanism. When people encounter a deep thinker, their mind goes into self-preservation mode. Instead of being curious, they resist. Instead of engaging, they dismiss. This is why intellectuals, philosophers, and visionaries often find themselves isolated. Not because they want to be alone, but because society pushes them away. Interestingly, studies show that in social settings, confidence is often valued more than intelligence. People are naturally drawn to those who project certainty, even if their ideas are shallow. This is why charismatic but simplistic thinkers gain more influence than deep thinkers who speak with nuance. History is full of examples: populist leaders, motivational speakers, and viral influencers who thrive by telling people what they want to hear, rather than challenging them to think critically. Meanwhile, those who question widely accepted beliefs struggle to find a broad audience. This is the paradox of intelligence. The more someone seeks truth, the more they become disconnected from the majority. If intelligence is so threatening, is there scientific proof that people actually fear it? Yes. Modern neuroscience backs this up. Studies show that when people feel intellectually inferior, their brain's amygdala, the region responsible for fear and threat detection, becomes highly active. In simple terms, deep thinking is not just intimidating, it triggers a primal survival response, similar to what we feel when facing physical danger. But why does intelligence activate the same fear circuits as a physical threat? The answer lies in how human brains evolved. For most of history, survival depended not on being the smartest person in the room, but on being accepted by the group. Our ancestors thrived in tribes where social harmony meant safety. Being rejected by the group could mean death, as isolation led to vulnerability. This is why human brains are wired for social acceptance over intellectual pursuit. When someone highly intelligent enters a social setting, they unknowingly disrupt the tribal balance. Their presence challenges existing ideas, social norms, and group dynamics. This triggers the brain's defense mechanism, as if facing a potential enemy rather than just a deep thinker. This is why many deep thinkers feel isolated, not because they lack social skills, but because their intelligence makes them stand out in a world that values fitting in over standing out. Unlike other thinkers who saw intelligence as the key to success, Schopenhauer argued that the smarter a person is, the more they will struggle to connect with society. But why? Schopenhauer's philosophy was built on a concept he called the will, a blind and irrational force that drives all human behavior. According to him, most people live their lives controlled by the will to live, seeking pleasure, comfort, and survival above all else. However, highly intelligent people operate differently. Instead of blindly following instincts, they develop the will to truth, an insatiable desire to understand reality even if it leads to discomfort. Regular people seek pleasure and avoid difficult truths. Deep thinkers seek truth even if it leads to pain and isolation. This creates a fundamental disconnect between intellectuals and the rest of society. Most people find meaning in relationships, entertainment, and routine pleasures. Deep thinkers often feel disillusioned with these things, seeing them as distractions from deeper existential questions. Schopenhauer believed that the more a person understands human nature, the harder it is for them to relate to others. Schopenhauer did not just diagnose the problem, he also offered solutions. Embrace solitude. He saw solitude not as a punishment, but as a privilege. Deep thinkers should use their alone time for intellectual and creative pursuits. Find like-minded individuals. Instead of trying to fit into mainstream society, seek out those who think like you through books, philosophy, or intellectual circles. Engage with the world wisely. He warned against blindly sharing deep insights with people who aren't ready for them. Instead, thinkers should observe society, learn its patterns, and choose their words carefully. Schopenhauer once said, "Talent hits a target no one else can hit. Genius hits a target no one else can see." Deep thinkers see the world differently. That will always make some people uncomfortable. But that does not mean they should stop thinking deeply. Society needs deep thinkers. It just doesn't always know how to embrace them. So if you've ever felt like an outsider for your thoughts, remember this: you are not alone. And while society may fear deep thinkers, it is deep thinkers who push humanity forward. If this video resonated with you, share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever faced rejection for thinking deeply? Let's start a conversation. And if you want to explore more insights from history's greatest minds, hit that subscribe button. We're just getting started.